Cool. All right. Welcome back, everybody, to Locked Off Logic podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Schwartz. I have a very special guest on the line today. We're someone that I've admired for a long time. A while back, this newspaper in Wyoming did an article on the work that Libertas International does, and you're just always nervous, like how articles kind of detailing that kind of stuff will be taken. And so when the newspaper published the article, I was looking at the comments of like, oh gosh, like I just you wonder what people will think. And this guy, he commented, and it was such a like heartfelt compliment, specifically like for those of us that come from Wyoming. He said that's cowboy as hell, and I was like, God, like that is such a nice thing to say, So I clicked on his profile, come to find out he's a columnist. I look into his history, I read his articles, we end up becoming friends on Facebook, or I think I follow you on Facebook, or we're friends. Like I'm not sure what kind of Facebook he has, but just started reading his poetry, reading his articles, and just kind of like fell in love with the mind that this guy has. This guy's name is Rod Miller. You'll recognize him from the Cowboy State Daily, where he's written, WyoFile, where he currently writes columns, a weekly column that we can check out. We'll put in the links. And he's a fifth generation Wyoming born guy, right? It's five generations.
Yep.
Yeah. So like, no one knows Wyoming like this guy. No one knows its past, present, and future. I don't know if anybody has a love for Wyoming quite like Rod Miller. And so like, Rod, man, welcome to the podcast, and thanks for coming on.
Hey, Tyler. I just got to say that was a glowing intro, but I can probably count on two fingers the number of people that have said they're in love with my mind. So that's a great compliment.
Yeah, no, it's totally true, man. Like I listened to this interview of yours where you talked about kind of where you discovered your love for the English language and the power the English language has. And I'm just like there's five guys, men, like I'll just be honest, there's five men that I can think of like off the top of my head who's just every time they open their mouth or they put words on paper, I just like can't get enough of it. And you're one of them. And the other ones are like the creator of The Last of Us, it's my favorite video game of all time, and I just anything that he puts out I read and I listen to, and so you're up there, man, with like the people that I follow and read and listen to, and your love for the English language, like that story that you shared on that podcast. I was just so touched by that, and it just made so much sense of like what you're doing today, in your writing and your poetry, and so yeah, I mean I am in love with the mind of Rod Miller, man.
Oh, man. If my camera worked, you could see me blush right now.
That's awesome, man. Good. I'm glad, man. I'm glad. But man, tell me about yourself. Like you, fifth generation Wyoming. Where did you grow up? Like what high school did you go to? And when did you decide that Wyoming was going to be your forever home? And what made you fall in love with the state?
I was born on a cow outfit about 40 miles north of there, up near the Seminole Mountains. Went to Rollins High School, home of the mighty Outlaws. Graduated in 1968. And I cannot tell you the first time I realized I loved Wyoming, just like I can't tell you that I remember the first time I ever got on a horse. So it's just, it's just been lifelong. The ranch I grew up on was started by my great grandfather, who came to Wyoming in 1867, working on the railroad, and stuck around and homesteaded north of Rawlins and started, raising livestock in an area, Tyler, that most people consider the cultural and intellectual epicenter of Wyoming, and the original site of the Garden of Eden, right there on the edge of the Red Desert. It is truly, it is scientifically proven to be the densest concentration of pit vipers on the planet. It's just rattlesnakey as hell out there.
Oh my
But
gosh.
I love it.
Dude, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Just out in Rollins?
North of Rawlins, yes.
Oh my gosh, dude. God, I didn't know that about Rollins. I haven't explored, like, I've explored certain parts of Wyoming just 'cause I love to hike. Like, I've hiked the shit out of like the Tetons and the Wind Rivers. Although the Wind Rivers, like, you could spend a lifetime exploring the Wind Rivers and just never touch even 10% of what that place offers. The Snowy Range, like out there in Laramie.
Yep,
I've
yep.
never explored really the out in the Bighorns, which I need to. But Rollins, man, like you're kind of making me not want to go hiking out there because of the pit vipers.
Well, there's there's really only one. There are two species of rattlesnakes in Wyoming, Tyler. There are the prairie rattlesnakes, Crotalus viridis, and that is the vast majority of the snakes in Wyoming. And there are literally millions of them that live in this dry set of hills called the Haystack Mountains that kind of go right through the middle of the range. Millions of rattlesnakes. And they live there because the sandstone, has been fractured over time so deeply that they can crawl down into these like caves and crevices and survive the coldest, worst winter on the planet. There's enough thermal inertia down there. So they over uh, eons they have evolved to know that they can crawl down in there, survive, and come back up again and go do rattlesnake stuff in the summer. Yeah, it's pretty snaky.
Dude, my gosh, and that's where you grew up. Like that was where you called home and where you guys, like, how does one ranch with so many pit vipers? Like, how do you guys keep yourself safe?
Rattlesnakes aren't really dangerous to humans or to livestock. They're a very defensive predator. They're a predator, but they're a very defensive predator. And they won't strike unless they're threatened. And the only way you get a rattlesnake to bite you is if you dick around with him, or not knowing he's there, step on him, and he just bite you out of reaction. But other than that, these guys, what they eat are paramecius, little white-footed deer mice. It's a main diet of the rattlesnake, and they eat a ton of them during feeding. They just go out and gorge themselves on these little mice. And these little mice eat like 10 times their body weight in grass every day. They're some high metabolism little thing. So I sat down with some researchers one time and figured out if I killed every rattlesnake I saw, they wouldn't be eating those mice that were eating the grass. So those mice would get all the grass, and I couldn't run as many cows out there. It's kind of the ecological ladder, if you will. But they're no threat to people unless you grab them or step on them.
Huh.
So yeah, we just kind of got along.
Dang. And so you did that. You grew up in Rollins, and if I'm not mistaken, it was in at Rollins High where you discovered your love of the English language. Is that true?
Uh, no, it was in Rollins Junior High.
Oh, okay.
And I think this, I forget which interview, you probably one that Evie from like Wyoming Public Radio did
Yeah,
here.
there was this cool picture of you like in a recliner out in the out in the rattlesnake field, I think.
Yeah, yeah. But I learned my love of language from my eighth grade teacher at Rollins Junior High. She taught my dad. Her name was Joe McFadden. And she was retired like uh, soprano from the New York Opera Company or something. And she was like, I don't know, 160 years old when she was teaching me in eighth grade. And we had like a spelling test. And in this spelling test, I misspelled the word rhythm. I didn't put two H's in it, and I knew there were two H's in rhythm. I got the Y right. So she kept me after class and made me write rhythm like 100 times up on the blackboard. And I had football practice after class. And if I'm late for football practice, I got to run wind sprints. My coach was like a Nazi. So Mrs. McFadden had me write rhythm up on the board like 100 times. I kept misspelling it, kept misspelling it. And finally, I threw down the chalk and says, "What the hell? It's only a word." And then she sat me down and she erased the whole board. And she took the chalk and she said, "Now tell me, I'm going to write stuff on the board. Tell me how it makes you feel, how it affects you." And she wrote up 17, 136, 4,068.5. And I looked and she said, "How those make you feel?" I shrugged my shoulder. She erased that. And then she wrote father, death, cancer, love. And she said, "Now, how do those words make you feel?" And it dawned on me. And since that time, I have never said, it's just a word.
Dang. Man, that's a beautiful story, man. That's I mean, yeah, even like just you talking and saying those words that you read, like it kind of invokes feelings of just me like interviewing you of like, okay, what does that word mean for me? Like, what does that word? And like, it's fascinating because like those things can mean such different things to such different people, which I think is just such a. That's why I think I just love the language, and I love that you pursued that like is a career. Like have that experience as a middle schooler, and then decide that you're going to dedicate the rest of your life. I think I'm
No, no,
assuming.
it's never been my career. I don't think I've ever really had a career. But I've always written and I've always loved language throughout anything I've ever done. Yeah. And now, I'm sort of semi-retired, 75-year-old grumpy old bachelor living with a dog,
That's awesome.
and I get a chance to write. I wrote for Cowboy State Daily. I write for WyoFile, and I write poetry avocationally, and I just love using the language.
Well, I guess tell me more about that. Like what do you working for like newspapers and columns, especially like with like the change. So I imagine cuz you said you're 75?
Yeah,
You don't look a day over 50, by the way. Like when I first met you, I was like that is a like that's what the Wyoming wind does to somebody. Just keeps them healthy. You just look like you're a strong 50-year-old man. You're aging like fine wine. Like let me just put that out there on the record.
it's not the years, buddy. It's the miles.
But like like that's an industry that like you talk about writing and working like in journalism. That you've been around to see quite the change in that, like between. I mean, you said you graduated in the 60s,
Yeah,
and
68.
and now like you work for a newspaper. I don't even know if you can call it a newspaper, like a media company. It's mainly online. What's it been like to just use the English language, but having like all these different mediums and how it's changed and like what's that been like?
There have been a lot of changes in the industry, Tyler, over the course of decades, you know. But the use of language hasn't changed. You still use the alphabet, the words you make out of the alphabet to communicate ideas with people, to inform them. And I'm an opinion columnist, and I have this theory that a newspaper or a news outlet like WyoFile, whatever. It's there's different components to it. You've got the news reporters, you've got the feature writers who do features on like the Hitching Post or whatever. You've got news guys, you got people that cover sports, and I write on the opinion page. And I think the opinion page is the endocrine system of a newspaper. That's where all the hormones get pumped out, the adrenaline and the dopamine, and the stuff that actually you write it to actually try and affect people one way or another. If you write a news story, you just want to get the facts to them. The who, what, when, where, why, and how. But writing opinion columns is screwing around with people's heads, screwing around with their emotions, trying to influence them one way or another. And, but that's been around a long time. That's exactly what Mark Twain did. That's what Ambrose Bierce did, back in the 1800s. Um, I have a great reverence for opinion columnists throughout history. I'm not sure I'd make a good reporter, just to go out and, I don't know, cover a car wreck or something like that. I don't think I could be objective enough to do that.
Yeah, I saw shortly after I started like following your work at Cowboy State Daily, maybe like 2 weeks after like Cowboy State Daily published that article on my nonprofit, there was an article that came out and it made me laugh. It was like, I'm tired of like Rod Miller hurting my feelings. Do you remember this article?
Yeah. It's like 2.5 years ago, and it still shows up on my Facebook feed.
Yeah, like what was that in a letter to the editor article, or like what was
it was a letter to the editor, Tyler, and I think I memorized the title. It's like, Rod Miller is horrible and he ruins my day.
Oh man, that is I've seen that come up a couple different times, but I don't think I've actually ever read like what's inside that article. Like what are they beefing about?
I think what pissed him off was an article I did criticizing government keeping secrets, in favor of like the Wyoming Public Records Act and transparency, and said, government shouldn't keep secrets from the citizens, and if they do, how can we participate in democracy? And something about that column pissed this guy off, and he wrote that nasty letter that said I curdled the milk in his cornflakes or something. Well, and that's fine. This is America. The First Amendment gives him the same right to criticize what I write as it gives me to write what I write. So it's pretty symmetrical.
I just open it now. The guy's from Cody, and
his name's Don, right?
Yeah,
Don
you can tell he's real pissed off because he uses a bunch of like explanation points. You can tell him like, oh, okay, yeah, he's really got something to say. Which like he says something very interesting here that I'll reference this because it has to go to So growing up in Wyoming, I had this basketball coach, right, and he was great. And he told me once, like we were playing ball, we were playing maybe against Rollins, probably, and Rollins for whatever reason just kicked our ass my junior year, and he really got after me. He didn't like the shot that I was taking. He didn't like the things that I was doing, and I kind of got after my coach. I was like, why are you always on my ass? Like honestly. And he was like, and he looked at me and he said something. He said a couple different things that really affected my life in a really positive way. The first one is that he was like, and this isn't reference to my story. This is just another quote that he said. He was like, Tyler, you can't shoot 50 free throws, miss all 50, and say the ball has problems, which I've used like in so many of my like just personal relationships where it's like, if you're going through a really hard time and everybody hates your guts and everything's just going bad, maybe it's not the world that has issues. But the other thing that he told me that was really profound, because he got on my ass, I barked back, and I was like, what is your deal? And he was like, Tyler, the day I stopped getting after you is the day that you should be concerned, because I just don't care anymore. It's not worth me investing in you. Like, I'm getting after you because I care. And like, that really like impacted me because I find myself doing the exact same thing with people that I care about, with like girls in the foundation. And like in your article, this is why I bring this up, is he says in this article, I'll make it short, if Rod Miller is allowed to spew his hate for the GOP the way he does, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the GOP part I wanted to fixate on, because in the last podcast I listened to where you were being interviewed, is that you would identify as a conservative, if I'm not mistaken.
I am.
So I'm like,
I self-identify as a conservative, and I've never registered anything other than Republican. So
I'm like, I'm reading this article. I'm like, if Rod Miller is critical of the GOP, that probably means he gives a shit about conservative values and he wants to see it get better. Like, that's the way I'm reading this. And maybe I'm mistaken in that, but like, would you expound on that a little bit?
Well, yeah, if if this darn guy is reacting to the column I think he's referring to, yeah, um, a conservative value is public knowledge of what government is doing. That's Barry Goldwater conservatism right there. And we'll tip our Stetsons when Barry Goldwater's name is mentioned. That's old school conservatism. Uh, Conservatism is encouraging every citizen to vote and making it easy for them to vote because voting is like the lifeblood and heartbeat of our democracy. And the conservative movement that I grew up in always favored that kind of citizen self-government. Um, that has changed. Yeah, I mean, I don't know when it started changing. My hunch it started changing in 1994 with the Republican Revolution and Newt Gingrich gaining control of the U.S. House and coming out with his contract for America. And that before that time, it was the 11th commandment in the Republican Party was you never speak ill of another Republican. Gingrich said, okay, it's time to speak ill of our Republican brothers who aren't towing the line behind us. And that's where this stuff started, in my opinion. Um, I'm heartbroken that some of the people who have election certificates in Cheyenne, I'm heartbroken about what they are saying, and at the same time claiming to be conservative or Republican.
Yeah.
It's something way different than I was raised with.
Hmm.
So,
That's interesting.
yeah, I'm going to interject an anecdote from my old football coach,
Perfect.
John Maffoni, football coach at Raw, and we'll tip our Stetsons when that name is mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely.
He told me more than once, Miller, every time you think you weaken the team,
Every time you what?
you weaken the team.
What do you mean by that?
That means, if I thought I was supposed to block this guy because this was happening and I did it and my quarterback got sacked, my quarterback got sacked because I was thinking and not doing what John Maffoni was telling me.
That is wow. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I get what he's saying. Interesting. And why do you think he gave you that feedback?
With that,
Why do you think he gave you that feedback every time you think we make a mistake?
yeah, my entire life, Tyler, I've always thought too much. So there are times you should think and times that you should just act.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. You know, so there's some good life lessons, man. Those high school coaches, like they go through way too much shit in Wyoming, like those high school coaches, and they have some good life lessons to teach us. Because yeah, I still go back on the stuff that my coaches told me. Just you don't remember as much as like the things that taught you about throwing a football or making a free throw, but just like some of the life lessons, that they teach you. Yeah, so like I'm using that to kind of go back and talk about Wyoming specifically because just the more I read about you, the more I listen to you. Like I just think that you are just like this wealth of knowledge for a state that a lot of the people that listen to this podcast love so much. And you've been around the block. Obviously, you've seen Wyoming through the last 75 years. Are you encouraged by the changes in Wyoming? Are you maybe frustrated by the lack of change in Wyoming? Like, what are your thoughts? I guess summarizing my question, uh, like, what are your thoughts on where Wyoming is and where it's going in the future?
Oh man, can't say that I'm either encouraged or discouraged by the fact that change is happening in Wyoming. I think what I can observe is that change has always happened in Wyoming. There's no way to stop change at all. And the more you try and do that, the more frustrated you're going to be. Um, change is a natural thing. the universe is changing around us, and our bodies are changing within the universe, and you can't stop that. So the way you do it is you just deal with the change. Figure out some way to deal with the change. If you can influence one way or another, knowing that you're not going to be able to move the needle very far either way, but you adapt to change, and that's how life survives on this planet. It adapts to change. So, um, yeah, I'm trying to remember your question.
Oh, well, that's a really good answer. For one, like I think change in general, I think is hard for everybody. I think you mentioned that in the podcast I listened to of just how hard change can be. Like we see that with even like um I didn't mention this like at the people of the House and the Senate when I gave my presentation last week, but change is hard even when it's a good change, you know? Like you can rescue a girl out of sex trafficking, but if they've been trafficked for 10 years, that transition is going to be really, really, really hard for them on all kinds of levels, physically, emotionally, spiritually, whatever, because it's change. And so I think, because like one thing I heard like at the Capitol a lot was just how do I even word this correctly, where there were people that were encouraged by the changes, frustrated by the lack of change, and also encouraged by the fact that things aren't changing.
Yeah.
And for me, that was just such an interesting thing to just even listen to, where maybe someone in Lusk doesn't want Lusk to change, while like someone in Laramie wants change to come quicker, faster. And so I guess my question, the part that I still need to ask is, um, what does the future for Wyoming look like? Does it remain the same? Does it continue to change gradually? Like what would you do if you were in charge? I know I just asked you like a ton of questions, but I'm generally curious of like what your answers would be for these.
Well, Wyoming as a state and as a people, we resist change. Always have. It's like, the first time barbed wire was brought into the state to fence off the pastures. People didn't want barbed wire fences in Wyoming. It's open range state.
Yeah.
And the first time crossbred cattle were brought into the state, people said, "No, cows should be brown with white faces." And windmills to pump water. Uh, People resisted that. Just suck all the water out of the ground. But all of those changes that people resisted resulted in a more thriving livestock industry. And that's a perspective I can most intelligently speak from. But those changes were resisted step by step. And that process, resisting change until it proves itself beneficial, I think is a ingrained into Wyoming people because we've always done it. Some new idea just sounds boneheaded and you don't try it, but you see your neighbor down the street trying it and it worked for him. Hell, okay, I'll give it a shot. I won't kill my neighbor for trying it. Uh, so I think that's how we, in a conservative state like Wyoming, um, manage change. I think we resist it. Particularly, we resist change for change's sake. But uh, if the change proves itself and proves it's going to benefit us, then we'll adopt it.
Hmm.
There's a great quote in Niccolo Machiavelli was an Italian Renaissance philosopher statesman who wrote a book called The Prince. And Machiavelli is the guy that coined the term, the means justify the end, and people consider, Machiavellian politics to be, pretty gnarly and bloodthirsty. But Machiavelli wrote about change, and he said, I'm going to have to paraphrase him. There's nothing more difficult nor doubtful nor dangerous, and to initiate a new order of things. For the people who will benefit from the change are very reluctant to adopt it. And the people who resist the change hardest don't realize that it will benefit them, or worse to that effect.
Hmm.
In 15th century Florence, they were having to deal with change. It's just been universal in the human experience. The stuff changes, and you can resolve to be pissed off about it or not. That's the only choice you have, really.
Hmm. Huh. That's an amazing answer. Thanks, man. That's what I'm talking about. Like you got such a beautiful mind of way. Like I asked you a question of like, what does change look like in Wyoming, and you bring it about to such a use a beautiful quote and bring it around in such a beautiful way. Like this is the shit I'm talking about. Like you talk like I was making you blush. Just it just being honest, man.
Well, yeah, and that's you can also describe change in Wyoming as once I was a 25-year-old studly cowboy, and now I have to sit down to put on my boot.
Oh man, dude, that's hilarious. But you okay? So you live in Cheyenne, correct?
Yes, I live in Cheyenne now.
Okay. Why do you choose to live in Cheyenne?
I moved to Cheyenne in 1984. I was recruited by a former governor of Wyoming, Ed Herschler, to serve on his staff, and I served with GovEd for oh, some bell went off or something. Okay. Anyhow, I served for the last 2 years of Herschler's administration, and stayed on all of Mike Sullivan's administration. Basically raised my kids in Cheyenne. They went to elementary, junior high, and high school here. I coached football, basketball, baseball in Cheyenne. It's just it's a neat city. I really like Cheyenne. So, but I came here to work in government.
Okay, and you just fell in love with the city and decided to stay there.
Well, yeah, I couldn't do my job living, for 10 years. I had to live here.
Yeah.
Had to wear a tie for 10 years.
Rob Miller had to wear a tie.
Yeah.
That that is the most surprising thing about this whole
There
conversation.
there are probably pictures of me somewhere that exist of me as a suit.
Dude, I gotta go deep dive on Google, see if I can find this. Like I bet like the Google AI would have a hard time finding you though because of like the beard. Um like it's got to be hard for someone to just like throw in your picture and have like a bunch of pictures of you just show up. And you seem like I know we're doing this podcast via speakerphone, but you don't other than Facebook, you don't seem to be a lot on social media or kind of is that accurate or do you
I'm on Facebook mostly for the journalism work I do. Both with Cowboy State Daily and WyoFile. When they published my story, I posted on Facebook as well because I think that gets more eyeballs on it. But yeah, Twitter, X, none of that stuff I'm very good with.
Okay. I can have a question. That picture you have, you'll post it every once in a while, but it's you around a campfire. Where did you take that picture? That's one of the coolest pictures I've ever seen of just like the nostalgia it brings up with like the campfires in Wyoming, hanging around with some buddies, especially like here in like the dead of winter to where maybe not many campfires are happening. Like give me like the background of like that picture cuz it's one of my favorite pictures on the internet.
It's of me and two of my kids and my grandson sitting in my front yard around a fire pit.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I
Yeah,
didn't know it
that's
was
it.
your
It's
kids.
an urban Cheyenne. It's taken at night, so you can't see the houses around it. Jimmy Orr, I think, took that picture, the editor of Cowboy State Daily, specifically because I've written a series of columns, kind of like around the old campfire columns with,
Yes.
cowboys sitting around, and that looked like a good picture for it. But my son Victor, my son Isaac are in that photo with me, and my grandson Landon. And
Okay.
I told them to at least look like they were interested in what I was saying.
Yeah, I've been I was a big fan of that picture, but I thought it was like just you and some buds. I guess it is like you and some buds, but I didn't know it was like your kids and it was like a family picture. That's cool, man. That's awesome. Well, man, I have some questions for you. I have considering this is like you being like a Wyoming icon, knowing so much about the state, I'd love to ask you if you're down. 44 questions about Wyoming, and you 44 questions, yeah. They can be rapid fire too. Like you don't have to give like a you can if you want, but like
Some of them like yes or no.
yeah, and you like one of them's like well, no, not really yes or no. It's more like the first one, for example. Like, what's your favorite town in Wyoming? You can give me an answer, or you can give me like my favorite town is Cody because of X, Y, and Z, and so you can do it however you want.
Okay, fine. Yeah, we can do 44 questions. I think my battery in my phone will hold out. So fire away.
All right, man. Well, my battery, if it doesn't, we can always come back. But I've got about 35% battery left too, so we'll see who dies first. All right. First question: what is the best town in Wyoming, or your favorite town?
Oh, Buffalo,
Why?
Occidental Hotel,
Huh.
and the Busy Bee Cafe, and I that's the one that jumps out. I can make a case for a dozen towns in Wyoming.
Okay.
Uh, but everybody knows my heart's in Carbon County and Rollins and all that. But um, I really like Buffalo.
Okay. Well, my second question now is give me a few of the other towns you can make a case for.
Farson
Okay.
for the ice cream, and I'll have to say like the Riverside Encampment Metroplex down in the Platte River Valley. Uh, and another metroplex in the Little Snake River Valley, the Baggs Dixon Savory area. And let's see, that'll do.
Okay. Fascinating. We might not get to 44 because my phone might die too. But you mentioned stuff like that, and like it provokes me to like comment in on like just one thing I've loved about Wyoming, and as I've traveled like the United States and the world, and just trying to explain kind of what Wyoming is like and how it's, as you like to call it, the big empty, where you have like these towns, these cities, and almost like every one kind of has like their own personality. And
Oh yeah.
I think that's amazing for one. I think that's awesome because like we had a situation a few years back where we had these girls that were rescued from trafficking in Colombia. They end up here on the asylum visa, and we were thinking about taking them to Wyoming. And we're like, where do we take these people? You had to consider in kind of their situation. They're not white. They speak very little English. They speak better English now. They want access to education opportunities, work opportunities, and so we decided that Laramie was probably the best place for them, just based on the university, because the university gives that kind of personality to that city of Laramie, and like they're there now and they're thriving. They're doing great, but and like it just got me thinking when I was trying to explain to like my board when this was happening, of just in Wyoming specifically how every single town has their specific personality. And when I think of Buffalo, I know there's great hiking out there, but I think of like the marching band out there. Like at Buffalo High School, when I was playing high school, like I was intimidated by the marching band. They were so loud, they were so coordinated to where before the game even started, I was like nervous about it.
You played football and you were nervous about the marching band,
Yeah,
Tyler?
dude, it was because Buffalo, like they were so like shout out to the Buffalo marching band, but they were so coordinated, they were so in your face, they were so loud. I'm like, if these guys, like, if this is their marching band and they're this intimidating, and like, dude, Rod, sure as shit, like Buffalo kicked our ass. Like we're Star Valley, like we're 3 times as big as Buffalo. Didn't matter. Didn't matter.
Yeah, they've always had a good football team up there. So, okay. Question number 3.
All right. What's the best bar in Wyoming?
The Buckhorn in Laramie.
Yeah, I thought you might say that. I was there the other day, and I was like, I bet Rod mentions this his favorite.
And not just because there's a bullet hole in the mirror behind the bar, but because of the pool games you can pick up in the Buckhorn. There's some really, really good pool players that shoot there.
Huh. I didn't know that. That's awesome. Okay. What is your favorite spot in nature in Wyoming? This one's hard.
Favorite spot in nature?
Yeah, it can be like out in your like backyard, the Snowies, Grand Teton. It can be the place where you enjoy the most as far as nature.
Bradley Peak, which is a mountain on the ranch I grew up on. And we'd move cattle, across it twice a year. And I always loved riding a horse up Bradley Peak. There's this little creek that goes up into these aspen, and on a hot day, you follow this little creek up there, and there's a patch of mint that grows up under the aspen trees, and you could get like a drink of this gin clear water, and it tasted like mint. I've never been in a place of nature like that I like better.
Dude, that's awesome. I gotta check that place out. That sounds amazing. Okay, your favorite restaurant in Wyoming?
Oh man, um, the Bunkhouse Bar and Grill.
Where's that at?
It's on Happy Jack Road between Laramie and Cheyenne.
Oh my gosh, I gotta check that out. I was gonna say mine is, I think, Born in a Barn, because it's right next like the railroad tracks and the art. And you can see the sunset.
Tyler, you got to check out the Bunkhouse Bar and Grill. They serve great Rocky Mountain oysters. Prime rib sandwich is killer. And there's a little country band that comes in Sunday afternoon to play, while you're in there eating. And if you slip them a few bucks, they won't play Wagon Wheel while you're in the house.
Dude, okay. I'm gonna go there, man. That sounds amazing. Okay. What is your favorite sport at University of Wyoming?
Football.
Okay. What's the best food in Cheyenne?
The best food in Cheyenne?
Yeah.
Man. I like the food at the Albany, which is a bar and restaurant right down close to the depot, at the south end of Capitol Avenue. I love that place.
Okay. There are a few questions in there that aren't Wyoming specific, but it goes into the 44 to honor, 44 State of the Union. Because one is coming up, just FYI.
All right.
Okay, what's your favorite movie? You're the second person I've had on my podcast that said that movie.
That other person has great taste in cinema, I might add.
Dude, God, I'm gonna have to text him because he's my buddy. He's on my board, and he is going to shit his pants that you said that. That's gonna make his day.
I've got like maybe 25% of the dialogue of Tombstone memorized.
Dude, that is cool. We might have to do another podcast where us three hop on, you guys being at your favorite movie and me watching it for the first time because I still haven't seen it, and we talk about it.
You haven't seen Tombstone?
No, dude, I haven't seen it yet. Okay, I'm gonna write that down. I'm taking like separate notes of like follow-up stuff to do. One is the restaurant, and now the other one is Tombstone. I'm put 2 stars next to it because you're the second person to recommend it.
Okay.
An actor, a movie is made about Rod Miller. Who's the actor that plays you?
Brad Pitt.
Okay, Brad Pitt. Very good. I was gonna say Jeff Bridges, but Brad Pitt's a better option. What is the most underrated town in Wyoming?
The most underrated town? Rawlins.
Okay. Rawlins. I gotta go explore Rawlins, man. I think you're right. Okay. Who is your favorite author?
Oh man. All right, Cormac McCarthy.
Oh, have you read of course you have. The Road?
Yeah.
Oh, it's one of my favorite books and one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. Cormac McCarthy. just because I could only pick one.
Dude, you just made my fucking day with that answer. That's awesome.
You said fuck on the radio.
Oh, dude, yeah, this is free podcast, man. As Rod Miller likes to say, what did you say on that TikTok? Take a shot for the First Amendment.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can say fuck if you want to. No worries.
Okay.
Best newspaper in Wyoming. What's your favorite animal in Wyoming?
Favorite animal?
Yeah. Really?
Horn-
Oh, I did not know that. That is the coolest thing I've heard all day. I'm gonna talk about that frequently now.
Yeah, he was like the size of a dog. His name was Eohippus, but he was an actual ancestor to the horns. And the oldest fossil is found up in the northern Bighorn Basin.
All right, who's your favorite historical figure from Wyoming?
Nate Champion.
Nate Champion. And you don't have to answer this if you want, but I'm curious to know: is there a place in Wyoming you would consider to be overrated?
Jackson.
Why is that? I figured you were going to say that, but I'm curious to know why you say it.
30 years ago, Jackson was not overrated. It was a cool little town, but it is it's turned to yuppie hell now. So, God bless them; they can have it.
Yeah, and the traffic there it sucks, man.
Yeah, $12 for a dish of ice cream. Give me a break.
Dude. It's so I will drive through like the Tetons and just like those peaks and like just the inspiring mountains and like how beautiful the lakes are, and you see like all this wildlife, and you take a step into the city and you're just like, oh my gosh, like this place, like it's almost like you have to, it's just it's sad what Jackson's become, and the price of living there. I just saw the most recent economic report too, to where like you have to make like $500,000 just to even survive out there.
Yeah. I have no more need to go to Jackson. So.
Good. Okay. Next question: Yellowstone or Grand Teton, which is better?
Grand Teton.
Okay. Why?
Yellowstone is it's the most overrated park in Wyoming. Everybody thinks it's the most intact ecosystem in the lower 48, right? That's on the promotional brochures. Well, if it's an intact ecosystem, it has 600 miles of paved highway in it. It world-class resorts like Old Faithful Inn, and 2.5 or 3 million idiots have visited every day. I would much prefer to be in Grand Teton National Park.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Most underrated place of nature in Wyoming that's still considered like not mainstream. So like Grand Teton, Yellowstone being like mainstream places to visit. Is there anywhere else that you would recommend that maybe is less mainstream that people might not know about, if that makes sense?
That is like, nature oriented.
Yeah.
Ten
Huh, what's out there? I've never been out there.
Ten Canyon. And it's like, rock hippie nirvana. It's great climbing. I don't climb, but it's got Ten Sleep Creek and the Knollwood River running through there. Is just I just like Ten.
I was gonna say the Snowies out in Laramie. I love the Snowies, man.
I do too. And then it's a toss up that trip over Snowy Range Pass between Encampment and Centennial.
Yeah.
It is just gorgeous.
Yeah. Okay. I think we were at 5, 10, 15, 18, I think. Okay. Biggest dude, you're kicking ass, bro. You're kicking ass, man. I love it. I'm like trying to like keep track of the question I'm asking you, but also like taking notes, because I guess I don't have to take notes because like I'll listen to this again. But just some of this stuff, I'm just like, this is what I'm talking about. Like just your wealth of knowledge of the state where we come from is just, it's awesome. It's awesome, bro.
And I hope you wrote down Tombstone.
Yo, yeah, 2 stars next to it too. Yeah. Yeah, if John Bigler's listening, he will be like, I told that motherfucker to watch that movie. So yeah, he'll if you're listening, John, and I might watch it tonight, bro. I got nothing going on tonight. I might watch it tonight. Okay. The biggest misconception people have about Wyoming.
Wow.
That's a good one.
That that people could actually live in Wyoming and not have nature trying to kill them.
Yeah. Yeah. That is a good observation. Okay. What is the biggest problem facing Wyoming?
Man, right now it's the Freedom Caucus.
Freedom Caucus. Yeah, I would second that, bro. I think that's a great answer. What do you do, Rod Miller personally, for fun in Wyoming?
I sit out on my front porch on Central Avenue. I live about 2 blocks north of the Capitol. Sit out on the front porch with my dog, good dog Henry, and drink a beer, and I watch cars go by.
Oh.
Every so often, this vintage like 58 or 59 bathtub Porsche 356 convertible would drive by with this old guy, out for a Sunday drive. And I just wait out there until I can see that car, and I immediately start to slobber. It's like it's entertaining.
That's awesome. I do something fairly similar. Not to that extent, like that's peak living right there, but if I'm ever traveling and my hotel has like an outdoor hot tub, I'll sit in it and watch the planes go past because I really enjoy watching planes like descent into an airport. Because I'm always like, what kind of story is that person like living right now on that airplane? Are they coming back from seeing a loved one? Are they having this once in a lifetime travel experience? Did they find their life purpose? Are they for work? And I just do it while just sipping a drink and watching it happen. And you're just chilling. You're just kind of chilling, letting your mind just like you don't disassociate, but you're also like very focused on what you're doing. It's this weird middle ground. But yeah, something similar.
Yeah, yeah. If I was doing that, looking up in the sky, watching these planes come in, I would be asking myself, what kind of diseases are those motherfuckers bringing into my state?
Oh yeah, no shit. Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, yeah, you're not wrong there. Okay.
I used to be a pilot. I wrecked an airplane one time.
No way.
I wrecked an airplane.
How did you survive that?
It was not a violent wreck. It was like a ground loop, and the thing flipped over on a landing. I wrote a column about it. My best friend from high school was in the plane with me.
I'm gonna write that down. Call him about airplane wreck. Dude, you've lived a hell of a life, man. I'll tell you what. Okay, next one. Your favorite outdoor activity in Wyoming?
Fly fishing.
Okay, where?
Generally in the water. I seem to have more luck there than anywhere.
Okay, better question. Which river or which lake or what's your favorite fishing?
I prefer fast moving big water to lakes or little creeks or something like that. So the best place I've ever fly fished and had the most fun was on the Clark's Fork.
Okay, have you ever been to Star Valley? So the last time you've been is in high school?
What's that?
So is the last time you've been there when you were in high school, or did you wrestle post high school?
No. Wrestled in high school. I've driven through the Star Valley since then. Yeah.
Okay.
I like it. I like the Star Valley.
Okay, that's where I'm from. I'm sure we have a lot of listeners from there, so I'm sure that they're like, well, you got to ask him. Like, has River Rod ever come to Star Valley?
Yeah. Pine, Freedom. What else is in Star Valley? Star Valley, the Salt River Range is right there.
Yeah.
And I've horse packed up in the Salt River Range before. I like that.
What is the have you ever been in a how do I word this? In a life or death situation in Wyoming.
In a life or death situation?
Yes.
Oh, several times. Several times.
Can you share?
Yeah, yeah. Um, I was out dockering cattle one time after a heavy spring snowstorm, and the whole ground was covered with bright snow. And I had sunglasses on, but I still got snow blinded out there. And I was like 3 or 4 miles from the horse trailer, and I couldn't see shit. Um, and it's a pretty rough country. So I just tied my reins together, laid them on the horse's neck, and just sat there until he got bored and he found his way back to the horse trailer. And I could hear the chain on the latch for the horse trailer gate clinking and banging against the side of the horse trailer. So I knew we were getting close. And I could follow that up. And it took like, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours for that horse to get back. But if he hadn't found his way back, I'd have frozen to death out there.
Dude. Huh. Yeah, that is
Yeah,
a
that was actually more dangerous than the airplane wreck.
jeez. Yeah. Oh my. Yeah. Yeah. I would say that definitely like even like look at like the stats. Like I just googled real quick like the stats of how many people die in the wilderness, either freezing to
Yeah,
death or avalanches or whatever. Like it's you can't even compare that number to like aviation crashes in Wyoming. Like it's so much more often in the outdoors.
yeah.
Huh. All right. If what's the worst part about living in Wyoming?
The worst parts about living in Wyoming,
Yeah.
um, it's dry. Uh, I've lived in really wet parts of the world and like that kind of climate better. The wind doesn't bother me as much as it does some people, but the dryness, uh, I wish it would rain more.
Yeah. 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 This year's
And not just this winter, but as a general rule, I wish Wyoming had more rain.
yeah. Yeah. I would agree with that. Huh. Wet. Where did you live that was wet?
Um, Mexico, South Texas, uh, Sicily, Malta. Those are all pretty wet places.
Dude, what were you doing out there?
Seeing what was there.
What'd you find?
Pardon me?
What did you find out there?
Malta. I found they make a really good wine in Gozo, which is one of the Maltese islands. I found Gozo wine. I really like that.
Okay.
In, in Sardinia, I found maybe the best seafood I've ever thrown a lip over, and Sardinia girls. So
Oh, very cool, dude. Huh. So how long did you live in those spots?
Malta, maybe I don't know, 6 months. Sardinia and Sicily, maybe a year in each place. The rest of the time in the mainland of Italy. Uh, if you go south of there to the North African coast, it's really dry.
Huh.
But Sicily and Sardinia have like a nice moist climate.
Dang. That's awesome. Okay, man. Your parents. What are some life lessons that you took away from your parents?
Oh man, probably every life lesson I've ever had. My dad was a stoical cattle rancher. Not just my dad, he was my boss, when I was a young man. And probably the biggest lesson dad taught me was, if you get bucked off a horse, get back on. Because it's a long walk back to the barn.
Oh, that is such a fire piece of advice, dude.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh man, that's beautiful.
yeah.
Dang, that's cool. That's cool. Man, your parents got to be so damn proud of you, dude.
Well, they're dead now, but I had great parents.
That's awesome, man. Um, my next question is, hang on, I'm written down right here. What can Wyoming do to help young people stay in the state?
Well, the leadership of Wyoming can try not to be such assholes. Young people have a very low tolerance for assholes.
Yeah.
And the more the leadership in Wyoming acts like that, the more you're going to drive these people away. And by asshole, I mean, pinching down the funding for schools, for small communities, not trying to recruit business to the state. When there's some industry that wants to relocate to the state, they say no because it's gonna change Wyoming. What Wyoming can do to encourage young people to stay here is just fucking change.
Yeah.
Just embrace change.
That's a great answer. Okay. Give us your thoughts on and this is a loaded question, but I wrote it down because I listened to your interview with the other podcaster, the other radio station that you did an interview with, and it goes to Wyoming's relationship with the Native American people. Like, how do we? Oh God, I don't even know how to word this, and we can edit this out if it doesn't come out like exactly right. But like, how do we better our relationship with them? How do we repair? How to become more inclusive? Like, what's the way forward to, I guess, bettering our relationship with those who are here before us?
We cannot be such assholes
Yeah.
and not think of our European heritage as central to Wyoming. Wyoming was not built around Europeans. For 20,000 years before the first European got here, the natives ran this place. And just because we've been here for 175 years, means nothing, you
Yeah.
know. Um, and if we can get our minds wrapped around that fact, I think the state's relationship with the tribes will be a lot better for everybody.
Oh, dang, that's a very good answer, Mark. Okay. All right. What's your favorite? Who's your favorite music artist?
Man, that's like my favorite author. I'm gonna have to say Towns Van Zandt.
Okay. What is your favorite Western movie?
Tombstone.
What is your do you what is that? How did I write this down? Okay, so in Wyoming and Western life in general was romanticized in the last 7 years by the TV show Yellowstone. Have you seen it? What do you think of it? Do you like it?
I haven't seen it.
Okay. Yeah, it's pretty.
I generally like Taylor Sheridan, but I think I tried to watch the first Yellowstone episode and it just looked weird.
Yeah.
I did like Sicario and Hell or High Water. I think Hell or High Water is his finest film.
I'm gonna write that down. That's a great answer. Did you see Wind River?
Yeah, yeah.
I really like. I have a lot of good like follow up stuff to explore too, man. God, the best. Okay. Best steak in Wyoming.
Best steak,
Yes.
like beef steak.
Yeah.
Um, I'd have to the Miners and Stockmans in Hartville.
Hmm. I've never even heard of that spot. It's good.
Oldest bar in Wyoming, the oldest restaurant in Wyoming, but it is really good.
Huh. And it's where?
Hartville, called the Miners and Stockmans.
There's a Stockman. Dang.
Now that's for steak, like Poorhouse or da 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 da. I prefer the prime rib at either the Albany or the Bunkhouse. I
Okay.
think they do a better job with prime rib.
Hey man, I cannot wait to like try some of these places. You're making my mouth water just thinking about. I'm cooking a steak for myself tonight, and
You're a carnivore, right?
yeah.
Okay, good,
Are
good,
you?
good, good.
Are you?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Good. Okay. One of my questions was that you already answered this. Like, is the wind that bad? Sounds like your answer was you don't mind the wind.
No, no.
Okay.
Uh, that means something's happening somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding. Do you have a favorite athlete that's come from Wyoming?
Athlete that came from Wyoming.
Yeah, either played college at
Wyoming native or with Wyoming athletic roots?
either or.
Josh Allen for sure.
Yeah. 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 Josh is awesome.
Yeah, and after Josh Allen, Boyd Dowler.
Okay. How long did it take you to grow your beard?
It's been growing for 6 or 7 years.
Perfect. What is your favorite place to relax in Cheyenne?
Out on my front porch, watching for that 4356.
Morning person or a night person?
Morning.
If you could make one change to Wyoming, what would it be?
One change to Wyoming.
Yeah.
That's really a trick question, Tyler. Let's see. I'd vote the Freedom Caucus out of office.
Yeah, those guys do cause a lot of issues, man. I had an idea just reading your stuff, but after like being there, yeah.
Well, yeah. Read between the lines as I answered that question. I did not say the best change Wyoming could do would be get rid of rattlesnakes. I said get rid of the Freedom Caucus.
That's awesome. Okay, man. Last two questions I got on my list. I think we'll get us at 44. One, what is your favorite place to travel outside of Wyoming? Last one is the most beautiful place you've ever seen.
My favorite place to travel outside of Wyoming.
Yeah.
Padre Island, down around Port Aransas, Padre Island National Seashore, the Gulf of Mexico, Texas coast. The prettiest place I've ever seen. Man, it's got to be, coming up over that hill from Togety on Togety Pass, topping the hill, and there's the Tetons right there in front of you, just like
man.
the Chamber of Commerce made them out of paper mache just to blow your socks off or something like that. That's the prettiest thing in the world that I've ever seen.
I would agree with that. Yeah. I've traveled a lot of places, man, and there's nothing like Lake Solitude and the Tetons just out there in that water and the green and the mountains and the clean air and dude, well, my I guess it's question number 45, but it's become, I know your phone's almost dying, my phone's almost dying. Man, like where can people find you? Like I said, like in the beginning of the podcast, and I shit you not, like I really believe this, is like your mind is such a beautiful thing, and I know that people listening to this will want more Rod Miller content, story, poetry. If people want more of that, they're listening to this, like where do they go to find you?
First place is 2803 Central Avenue, right across from the old library in Cheyenne. I usually always have an extra beer in the fridge if you want to sit here with me and watch for that Porsche. My writing is archived at Cowboy State Daily, and I'm an active columnist at WyoFile. You look either there or my Facebook page. It's where I put all my poetry on Facebook.
Okay. I gotta tell you, man, like I WyoFile and Cowboy State Daily are so, I really enjoy reading their papers just because I get the vibe that like they just you can tell like when someone is like reporting the news, reporting a story, and then you can tell when someone, like your description on like the WyoFile Facebook site, like someone that's like a cinephile, like for example, like someone that's just passionate about what they've got going on. And these people that write for WyoFile and Cowboy State Daily and all these different people, like they're passionate about the state that they live in, and it comes through like with their stories. And I really enjoy reading them, their coverage on things, their human interest pieces, your columns.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah, and I do too. I consider them all my colleagues. Although WyoFile and Cowboy State Daily have kind of a competitive arrangement, but I like them all, and I will tell you, with my hand on my heart, that the greatest writer working in Wyoming today, the purest craftsman using the English language, is Claire McFarland, who writes for Cowboy State Daily. Her columns are just, they stun me. So,
yeah, I'm in agreement. I think Claire and Jen were the ones that did the story on my nonprofit. Most of the true crime stuff that I like, a lot of the times, like the cases, the human trafficking cases in Wyoming, I read about via Claire.
Claire has like the crime and courts beat. She's a great reporter, but when she, is not doing reportage and writes a column, it's just great.
Man, that's awesome. We'll give her a shout out on this too. We'll link some of her articles in this too. But dude, man, I can't thank you enough for just hopping on the Locked Off Logic podcast with me and sharing your story and your passion and your knowledge. I wanted to meet you forever. There's a funny story behind this where, because like I was at the Capitol, right, and I went there and I gave my presentation and I got looped into all these different things. I got asked to testify on some bills. They wanted to like do something for me in the Senate. I got invited to like this party to get introduced to like all these politicians. And I was really like, that's an environment that I'm not super familiar with. And this representative there, McKay Erickson, he really took me under his wing and he was like, I'll show you the ropes. Like just follow me, be like my little puppy dog and like I'll teach you kind of like how to maneuver this. And I was like, okay. So he helped me and we were talking, just me and him. We had dinner at one of the parties or whatever. And he asked me like how Locked Off Logic podcast was going. And this like when the WyoFile story dropped about the checks. And I was like, there's a columnist that I'm friends with on Facebook and I've wanted to reach out to him for the longest time because I think he's so brilliant. His name's Rod Miller. And he was like, oh, yeah, I love Rod Miller, man. Like, I read his stuff all the time. And I was like, you should totally have him on the podcast or whatever. But he kind of like gave me like I don't know, like the push in the back to be like, you ask him to be on your podcast. Like the worst he could say is no. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to shoot my shot and see if he'll come on.
Gosh, I'm glad you did, man. This has been fun.
Dude, I'm so honored, man. And just God bless you for like the work that you do and like the life that you've lived and just your passion for the First Amendment and your passion for Wyoming and wanting to create a better Wyoming for those of us that will live here like after you're gone. And just thanks for coming on my podcast and sharing your story because it's a story that's worth sharing.
Well, if you're done talking, I'll kiss your ass for a minute and say I really admire and respect the work you're doing. I think it's just cowboy as hell.
Ah, dude, thanks, man. That is the nicest thing that anyone's ever said to me. Like I've got all these like nice little awards and medals or whatever, but having an OG like you say that what I do is cowboy as hell, like, oh, I do have one more question for you though. Speaking of one thing, is I want to know about. I'm getting ahead of myself. My mind is working a little too quick that my mouth can operate. I want to get tattooed on my back, cowboy as hell, Rod Miller, based on like what you just said. But I cannot let you go until you tell me about your first tattoo, man. That is something that I can't believe I forgot until this point. But you got a tattoo recently. Tell me about it.
Yeah, I wrote a column about it. And it's a tattoo artist that put it on. And it's the Steamboat Wyoming Bucking Horse with the numbers 307 underneath it. I just wanted her to give me my first tattoo, and she did a magnificent job. I expected, to be in agonized pain, but it wasn't, Tyler.
That one hurt. That one hurt.
The closer to the bone, I think the skin is. I think the more it hurt. But Mine's up here, my pectoral, and it didn't hurt much. But yeah, I'm proud of it. Maya did a great job. I wrote a column about it. Um, so I mean, if there's one thing that could have improved my God-given perfect body, it's that tattoo my granddaughter put on it.
What is her? What is her? Does she have like her own company or like her own Instagram page? Like, can we give her like a shout out on to get?
Yeah, I think it's like Maya Tats or Tats by Maya, Maya. She's got a Facebook page. Uh, her shop is Beautiful Addiction in Cheyenne. There's two. There's one in Fort Collins and one in Cheyenne, and she's at the Cheyenne shop. So either place.
We'll give her a shout out, man.
This is my first tattoo. It's not my first body mod. I've got a big script letter L on my right pectoral. It's a brand. And one of my exes put it on. Originally we were going to have it say, "If found, return to Lorraine, 537 Naples Street, Corpus Christi, Texas." But we got as far as the L, and I tapped out. Man, it felt like I'd been shot. It stunk. God,
Oh.
the tattoo was like kids play in comparison.
I guess when you compare it to that, then yeah, a tattoo would feel like nothing compared to getting branded.
Yeah.
Dude, you're a legend, man. I don't know how to thank you for just coming on my podcast and sharing your story. But man, just thank you. I just let me just keep in touch. I guess we're chatting via Messenger now, but just looking forward to following your work. And God, dude, just enjoy that beer on Friday. Enjoy the beer tonight. And next time I'm in Cheyenne, you take me to your favorite. No, fuck that. Let's go to the Buck. And first round's on me at the Buck. Yeah, dude. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do
Thank you, Tyler.
Hey, appreciate it, man. Good to meet you, man, and thanks for being on the podcast.